Hello, I'm Nathan Lawson, and this is JoeFest Live. Have you ever looked through a comic and wondered, how did the creators develop the storyline? How did the process actually work, week after week and month after month? Well, our guests today have not only discovered these types of answers, but are now in the final phases of their fifth book on it. I sat down with Josh Eggbean and Roger Taft, and together they are After Action Report. Roger and Josh, thank you for being here today. If you guys don't know, After Action Report is here today. It's a series of G.I. Joe comic and character guidebooks created by Roger and Josh with the help of several other authors. And of course, they are currently in a Kickstarter for the fifth book. Of course, the first announcement for the first book actually came from JoeFest 2020. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Awesome.
It's always exciting news when your Kickstarter is funded.
Yeah,
it is.
Absolutely. So for those who are new to After Action Report, tell us about the history and how AAR came into existence.
Well, during COVID, we had just finished up the search for G.I. Joe number 21 second printing, which Josh started. And that was a big article and call to action that we did on Generals Joe's reborn.com. And we had time, so I contacted Josh and said, want to do a book? Let's do a book. Here we are 4 years later.
Yeah, for the fifth book coming out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Roger's underestimating that. He's forgetting about the 20 years he was thinking about this before.
Well, I wanted the abbreviated version.
Abbreviated. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No. Yeah, so basically Roger, had been trying to think about these books, and then he came to me and he's like, let's do a comic guidebook. I'm like, hell yeah. I got the comics, you know what I mean? I got the collection and I got the time. So,
well, speaking about, all the years that it came before the books actually started to go into production. Tell me a little bit about, what is y'all's history about collecting and selling?
You want to take it first, Josh?
Well, I mean, I'm a 1982 first, issue, got them all the way to 155 when they came out in the stores, and then just never stopped getting them when they came out in the stores. And then, of course, as a G.I. Joe completist, moved on to collecting G.I. Joe International books, in other languages, and then every variant and version and color and cover. I actually just bought some the other day that have coverless. They were like $1. I'm like, why am I buying coverless ones? Well, but the interesting thing was that what I realized is that those are like the newsstand rejects from the 80s, because that's what happened in the 80s. Like when they didn't sell them all, they would rip off the cover and it would be coverless, and they could get a credit for it.
Okay.
And so I was like, that's a newsstand, like, not comic stops. But so like, they would do that with every magazine and everything. And
so there's some history behind that piece then.
So I got a few of those, and I was like, well, these are actually kind of interesting because they're worthless ultimately because they have no cover, but they are a part of the newsstand direct market collecting history. And so I was like, all right, well, I think I actually got a couple of those in person when we were at a shop with Roger coming back from one of the JoeFest. That was the first time I'd ever seen those.
Now, Josh, you mentioned a word there a second ago. You're a completionist. Roger, what is a completionist?
I don't know. That's a fake word, honestly. Completist is a real word.
I'm sorry, completist. I heard completionist, but
yeah. Colloquially, it's kind of completionists, but really, I prefer completist, and that's just buying everything, every variation within a set of parameters. So if you're collecting G.I. Joe, you're getting all G.I. Joe comics or toys or model kits or whatever it is you're focused on. So,
I mean, most toy collectors want to get like the every figure in each wave. Maybe not every variant. Like some people really want like every different colored crotch or something like that. You know what I mean? But most people want to get like all 13 figures from wave one. You know what I mean? The straight arm. So like that's a variant of being a completist. But for comics, it's like every variant and version, and so I have like a complete set of direct market and newsstand from the from the 80s run, Canadian versions, Canadian price, and like I said, I try to specialize really in foreign ones. So I have a lot from like I even in Indonesia, and but basically it comes down to just anything that is printed, that's like a comic or a magazine or a book or something like that. Not like necessarily like the guides for the toy guides that came in the toys and
But
stuff.
this would kind of explain the whole reason why there's 2 walls of long boxes behind you right now.
Yes. Yeah, but just tilt a little bit that way, it still keeps going.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
This way, and it still keeps going. And they are all GI Joe, Action Force related. I don't really have. I mean, I have some other. I have some Star Wars comics, but so.
Well, now, Josh, do you actually? You've got thousands there. Do you have a favorite out of all of it?
I mean, the standard answer always is number 21. Which, of course, we're writing a book about it.
Of course.
But there's a reason why it's the number. It's often one. I mean, like I have a couple ones. I have the Devil's Due employee issue, which is their number 36. That's an extremely rare one. I think they only made 50. So there's some stuff like that. I have a whole box of mock from the Devil's Due era, which are basically pre-digital comics where they printed them up and then they marked them up. So I have that. Those are 100% unique. Thank you to Sam Wells for helping me get those. So those are kind of like the really unique things. But ultimately, like when you look at the history of GI Joe, number 21 really changed everything, right? Not only was it silent issue, but it introduced the Snake